concludes today's symposium, we will now ceremoniously light the oil lamp as a mark of respect to our country's traditions. It gives me a great pleasure to invite our chief guest, Honorable Andrew Traveller, the Deputy High Commissioner of New Zealand to Sri Lanka, representing His Excellency Michael Appleton, High Commissioner of New Zealand, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Shalala Ahmadova, the Public Health Administrator of the World Health Organization, joining on behalf of Dr. Alaka Singh, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Colombo, Senior Professor Cha H.D. Karunaratne, the Rector of the Sri Pali Campus, Dr. Pratibha Mahanamheva,
representing all the deans of the faculties of the University of Colombo, Professor M.P.P. Dharmadasa, the Dean of the Faculty of Management and Finance, representing all the directors of the institutes of the University of Colombo, Dr. Ajanta Atukorala, the Director of University of Colombo School of Computing, the Registrar of University of Colombo, Mr. K.A.S. Edward, the Bursar University of Colombo, Mrs. J.T.L. Dharmasena, representing the library, the Acting Librarian of the University of Colombo, Mrs. H.M.D.S.D. Somaratna, Assistant Registrar, Academic and Publications Branch, Mr. S.M. Shaifa, Consultant of the Colombo University Press, Dr. Nandasara, and the Chairperson of the Annual Research Symposium for the year 2023, Professor Tarusha N. Gunaratna, to lighting the traditional oil lamp.
In the realms of research, our hearts and minds converge, for it is not only the intellect that fuels pursuit, but also the passion that ignites the purpose.
Distinguished personalities, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm and a gracious welcome to the Annual Research Symposium 2023 of University of Colombo. We are gathered here today on this 2nd of November in Professor V.K. Samarnaik Auditorium at UCSC to celebrate and embrace the spirit of research and academic excellence. The Annual Research Symposium of University of Colombo stands as a prestigious event in the university calendar, with an objective to disseminate new knowledge acquired through research conducted by the academic community of the university.
In an age of ever-accelerating discovery, our quest for knowledge knows no bound. With that being said, presenting the theme for the Annual Research Symposium for the year 2023 of University of Colombo, Research Excellence and Beyond, encapsulating the very essence of our shared journey in the realms of human understanding. So once again, a very warm welcome to all of the research enthusiasts gathered here today, as well as all of the participants joining with us virtually. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, to officially commemorate today's proceedings, I would like to request all of you to rise for the national anthem.
Thank you, everyone. University of Colombo, being the premier university in Sri Lanka and in world ranking, stands as a pillar of knowledge, innovation, and academic excellence. So before we delve into the rest of the proceedings, let's take a moment to discover the essence of our prestigious institution where innovation and knowledge converge to paint a brighter tomorrow.
Sri Lanka, the island of paradise, with captivating and enchanting charms. The island's spell, snared by an age-old magic of scorching sun, great green waters, purple dusks, gushing waterfalls, rising blue mountains, and starry heavens. The wonders of the country of oasis. Colombo, the heart of the evergreen island, shrouded by the waters of magnificent sea. The city of promises, kindling in all hearts a hope of tomorrow. The harmonious blend of all races whispers to the ear the unheard stories of glorious past, rejuvenating the town center. University of Colombo. The pioneering academia of the history of higher seats of learning in Sri Lanka, the most respected and acclaimed higher seat of learning of the nation, a legacy of intellectuals located in the heart of Colombo. The initiative nucleus of the academic atmosphere was formed by amalgamating the Ceylon Medical College, founded in 1870, and the Ceylon University College in 1921, which were incorporated into the university later. By April 1942, the University of Colombo was established by the State Council. The first Vice-Chancellor of the new university, Sir Ivo Jennings, architect of academic nature in Sri Lanka. From colonialism to modernity, our proud history runs over 148 years of an uninterrupted stand with multicultural, multi-ethnic, and multi-religious student and staff population, fostering social harmony, cultural diversity, unity, and equal opportunity. Strive to be a center of excellence of regional and international repute, building synergies between knowledge, education, research, and entrepreneurship. It is our vision. The University of Colombo comprises around 185 degree programs, about 25,000 students, 700 academics and researchers. Varsity with the power of empowering the nation. We excel at promoting student-centered teaching practices, self-directed learning through assignments which foster discovery of knowledge, creative productions, and collaborative projects. Our 9 faculties, multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary in nature, and strengthened by 56 academic departments, a campus, a school, 7 institutes, and 8 centers. The university widens foreign and local undergraduates' horizons to face the global challenges ahead of them. Faculty of Graduate Studies offers diploma and postgraduate courses of a multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary nature, concentrating on capacity building by entering into linkages with the outside world to equip the youth with all necessary knowledge. We work hand in hand with outside corporate sectors to ensure that the university caters to the needs of the day. The library supports the university vision with up-to-date materials, books, and other resources where both staff and students communicate and express their creative and scholarly ideas in respective disciplines. The international unit of the University of Colombo is proud to have links with almost all internationally recognized universities, with the view of providing scholars with the latest global scholarships. The warm and friendly academic atmosphere, together with recreational facilities and other services through experience of enjoyment, physical fitness, and increased self-confidence opportunities for togetherness, are also parts of our academic endeavors. Heading to Metropolitan University, surrounded by modern and international outlook and character, with easy access to international information and resource centers, libraries, theaters, sports complexes, and other facilities. Modern technology incorporates with scientific research, blends into writers, poets, critics, and artists, maintaining international academic standards, contributing to national development and the health and well-being of all our people, facing the challenges of an ever-changing world with the latest resources, supporting our staff to maintain high academic profiles. Inspired by the past, we shape the future towards the 21st century. University of Colombo. Wisdom enlightens.
As we commence our journey embodying dedication and a passion for knowledge, it is my privilege to introduce Professor Tharusha N. Gunaratna, Chairperson of the Annual Research Symposium 2023, to deliver the official welcome and set the day's intellectual course.
Good afternoon. His Excellency Michael Appleton, the New Zealand High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Mr. Andrew Traveller, Deputy High Commissioner, and our chief guest today on behalf of His Excellency the High Commissioner. Keynote speakers of the event, Dr. P. Nandalal Weerasinghe, Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Professor Daminda Alahakone, Director Research Centre for Data Analytics and Cognition, La Trobe University, Melbourne, Australia, Dr. Alaka Singh, WHO Representative to Sri Lanka, Dr. Shalala Amadova, Public Health Administrator, WHO Sri Lanka, representing Dr. Alaka Singh today, Senior Professor Chair, H.T. Karunaratne, Vice Chancellor, University of Colombo, Rector, Deans, Directors, Registrar, Bursa, librarian, University of Colombo researchers ranked among world's 2% of scientists, Senate awardees, Senate commendation awardees, distinguished invitees, heads of academic departments and units, academic, administrative, finance, academic support, and non-academic staff members, students, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Vice Chancellor and the organizing committee, it is truly an honor to stand here and warmly welcome you all to the inauguration ceremony of the Annual Research Symposium 2023 of the University of Colombo. The Annual Research Symposium, or ARS as we call it, is the premier research event in the university's annual calendar. In the world of academia, research is the lifeblood that fuels progress. ARS is an opportunity to showcase the university's commitment to research and research output, culminating the efforts of 10 faculties, campus, school, and 6 affiliated institutes. Connected to the annual research symposium, yet reflecting the rich diversity of the university community's research capacity, several international and local conferences, as well as symposia, are organized each year by the different faculties, institutes, etc., aligned to their disciplinary focus. Such conferences feature technical sessions consisting of paper and poster presentations, industry dialogues, research workshops, and doctoral colloquiums. This year's symposium is held under the theme Research Excellence and Beyond. As the leading university in the country, the strong commitment towards quality and excellence of research has always and will continue to be of utmost importance to this esteemed institution. And such a research focus has enabled the university to steadily progress to great heights. However, we also need to ponder on what lies beyond. And today we are gathered here not only to celebrate research excellence, but also to take a step further and explore how our research endeavors could serve as a stepping stone to something greater. For beyond excellence lies innovation and transformation, hence a lasting impact on society. As a university, we truly move beyond to ensure the wider relevance of our research aligned to the world of practice through commercialization of university-based research, product launches, patent rights, and provision of inputs for policymaking and managerial decision-making. Setting a similar tone, today we have the privilege of listening to 3 leading personalities who, through their keynote speeches, would shed light on our symposium theme from diverse perspectives, drawing on their vast knowledge and experience. At this point, I thank our chief guest and the distinguished keynote speakers for their invaluable presence and contributions. Before I end, I wish to express my gratitude to all those who made ARS 2023 a reality, starting from the unwavering support and leadership of Senior Professor Chair H.D. Karunaratne, Vice Chancellor, University of Colombo, the energetic team who was always there for me, including Chair, Publicity and IT Committee, Chair, Inauguration Committee, Editor, Co-Editor, and all subcommittee members representing the different faculties, institute, campus, school, and the library. I extend a deep sense of appreciation to Assistant Registrar, Academic and Publication Branch and his team, Faculty of Science Media, Network Operations Center, and the Director, University of Colombo School of Computing, and his staff for the excellent administrative, IT, and logistical support. Once again, I warmly welcome you all to ARS 2023 and much appreciate your presence today. I wish you a productive and an intellectually stimulating evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam, for those kind words of welcome to all our guests. Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, and respected colleagues, now we have the distinct privilege of welcoming a visionary leader, Senior Professor Chair H.D. Karunaratne, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Colombo, who has steered our university toward greater heights. Professor Karunaratne earned his PhD in economics from the Graduate School of International Development of Nagoya University, Japan, in the year 2000. He also holds a Master's in Economic Policy from Nagoya City University, Japan, a Master's in Economics from Department of Economics of University of Colombo, and a Bachelor of Arts with a first-class honors from the University of Sri Jawaharlandapura. His academic research focuses chiefly on entrepreneurship, international business, international migration, labor markets, income inequality, and international trade. His leadership has been instrumental in fostering a culture of innovation and inquiry, making our university a beacon of academic brilliance. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me extending a warm welcome to Senior Professor Chair H.D. Karunaratne, the Vice Chancellor of University of Colombo.
Very good afternoon. Mr. Andrew Traveller, representative of His Excellency Michael Appleton, Ambassador for High Commissioner for New Zealand. Three keynote speakers, including Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, Governor of the Central Bank, and of course we have two other speakers, deans, rector, all heads of the department, distinguished invitees. It gives me great pleasure and honor to address you. Very important day of the University of Colombo in our calendar. Every year we have annual research symposium since year 2008. Year 2000, the University of Colombo first started the University of Research Award for all academics, those who are doing research. So every year thereafter, we started awarding the Research Award. Not only that, in the University of Colombo, we have about 883 academics. They do research annually, around 635 SCI journal articles published by the University of Colombo academics. Today's event is not merely a research symposium. We recognize our researchers who achieved the top 2% scientists in the world in this year. Out of the 50, the 8 academics from the University of Colombo recognized as the best 2% scientists in the world in year 2023. So congratulations for them, and we recognize them today. Not only that, every year since around 2013, we started Vice Chancellor's Award for Research and Senate Award for Research, and recently we started Senate Commendation for Research. All these awardees will be rewarded in today's annual research symposium. Of course, in the University of Colombo, as many of you are aware, we have 19 institutes, including 10 faculties, 6 institutes, and 1 campus, as well as 1 school, the University of Colombo School of Computing, where you are in today. So all these 19 entities represent 883 academics. Apart from their teaching and learning, everyone engage the research. Because of their research progress, the University of Colombo, particularly in year 2023, with respect to all 3 international research ranking indices, including Webometric Index, QS Ranking Index, and Times Higher Education Index, University of Colombo became the #1 in year 2023. So that is because of the commitment, dedication, and contribution made by our 883 academics. Not only that, the University of Colombo has initiated many activities in recent past. Particularly, we have been promoting foreign students to attract to the University of Colombo. In this year, we have 225 foreign students for undergraduate and postgraduate courses, and we have established the International Student Association in 3 chapters for undergraduates, postgraduate, as well as alumni of the University of Colombo. So we are linking with the world as much as possible. The University of Colombo is the only one representative university in Sri Lanka in the Asian University Alliance, which represents the best 15 universities, including Singapore National University, University of Tokyo, all high-ranked universities in Asia. The University of Colombo is the sole representative in this country. So therefore, I hope that in 21st century, the cooperation, collaboration, and networking for research is essential. Particularly in 2023, our theme is research excellence and beyond, which is very important because in recent past, the University of Colombo took many actions to go for publications, not only publications, product development, innovations, patent rights, and going beyond just publications. So we have received patent rights. I'm happy to say that this year we started in our history the first time receiving patent income to the University of Colombo. So maybe at the very beginning a low amount, but I know that our researchers collaborating and cooperating with industry and of course mainly with the global partners. So therefore, I believe that the University of Colombo progress is towards the global scenario. We believe that all the researchers we are rewarding and we are supporting. There are some issues with respect to signing MOUs and migrating researchers. There are many issues, but University of Colombo continuously keeping our research record as much as possible in the higher level. So thank you very much for joining us in this very important calendar year in the University of Colombo. Particularly, I should thank for 3 keynote speakers who are going to enlighten in 3 different very important areas for all participants today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for those words of wisdom and vision. Ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted to announce that we will now proceed with the official launch of the electronic proceedings of the Annual Research Symposium 2023.
I would now like to cordially invite the Vice-Chancellor of University of Colombo, Senior Professor Chair H.D. Karunaratne, up on stage to launch the electronic proceedings, and Professor Tharusha Gunaratne, Chairperson of Annual Research Symposium, as well as Editor Dr. Sewandi Ranasinghe to accompany him on stage. Next, I would like to invite the Vice Chancellor, Senior Professor H.D. Karunaratne, to officially present the first copies of the proceedings to Honorable Andrew Traveller, the Deputy High Commissioner of New Zealand to Sri Lanka, our chief guest for today, and our keynote speaker, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, and to Dr. Shalala Ahmedova, Public Health Administrator of WHO Sri Lanka, joining on behalf of Dr. Alaka Singha.
And I would also like to request Professor Tarusha Gunaratne, the Chair of the ARS 2023, to present the proceedings to the Vice Chancellor. Ladies and gentlemen, the link to download the proceedings was already shared with all registered participants via email with the launching of the proceedings. It is our honor to have a distinguished diplomat and with a rich and accomplished career spanning over a decade as our chief guest today. He is His Excellency Michael Appleton, the New Zealand's first resident High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, serving as a career diplomat since 2005. He has extensive experience in foreign policy, including roles as Senior Foreign Affairs Advisor to 2 New Zealand foreign ministers from 2019 to 2021. He has held leadership positions in various diplomatic postings, including India, the United States, and Timor-Leste. He holds a Master of Philosophy in International Relations from the University of Cambridge and a Bachelor of Arts with Honours in International Relations from Victoria University of Wellington.
As His Excellency Michael Appleton is unable to attend in person today due to an unavoidable meeting with the Prime Minister, we have Honorable Andrew Traveller, the Deputy High Commissioner of New Zealand to Sri Lanka, joining as our chief guest today on behalf of His Excellency. We now invite Honorable Andrew Traveller on stage. Sir, the stage is all yours.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for the kind invitation to His Excellency Michael Appleton to be the chief guest. I'm representing Michael today. It's really an honour and a privilege to deliver the chief guest message at the University of Colombo's annual research symposium this year, under the 2023 theme of research excellence and beyond. The theme, which includes both research excellence and beyond, resonates with me. I personally have a background in higher education sector, both academically, and I have experience advising governments across Europe, Central Asia, and Southern Africa on the development of their national innovation, science, and research systems. So it's a great pleasure to be at such a distinguished event today. And of course, New Zealand believes that a well-functioning research, science, and education system is essential to the economic, social, and innovation systems, health, environmental, and cultural well-being of the country, and that investing in research helps to increase productivity, enhance innovation, and strengthen efficiency and well-being. And universities like the University of Colombo are a core part of this. They help to train and nurture the country's future researchers and innovators, providing them with the skills and knowledge to tackle complex challenges, whether social, economic, or environmental. And of course, we have no shortage of these in today's world. In New Zealand, we're also striving towards a research, science, and innovation system that's adaptable and resilient to these changing futures and to these challenges. And to do so, we need to be far more connected to ourselves, to our people, including in New Zealand, our Indigenous culture, to international funding opportunities and research collaborations, and most importantly, to the users of the research. And of course, this is particularly important to Sri Lanka too, as it navigates its way out of the current crisis. But translating timely and important research into meaningful and practical application can be a challenge. This is why it's particularly commendable that the University of Colombo has chosen to celebrate multidisciplinary approaches and focus on the beyond of research excellence, identifying where research informs policy making, where it fuels business innovation, and where it advances evidence-based solutions. And of course, all of these things are urgently required. So as Sri Lanka grapples with the aftermath of its economic crisis, implementing diverse and long-term policy reforms, building its knowledge-based economy, and tackling the challenges of outward migration and brain drain, the research conversations that you're engaging in today are especially relevant. Indeed, I'm always filled with hope when in the course of my work, I'm struck by the number of talented Sri Lankan researchers in the country and in the university sector in particular. I see that in my interactions across Sri Lanka, and whether it's in agriculture, veterinary sciences, computer sciences, disaster, risk reduction and management, engineering, and across multiple other areas where New Zealand universities and academics have connections to Sri Lanka. New Zealand universities are lucky to employ a number of academics who have been through and benefited from Sri Lanka's excellent higher education system, and our universities welcome and value these academics. While it's understandably difficult that many Sri Lankans choose to remain abroad in the current circumstances, it's also encouraging to see that many of these people are keen to forge connections with Sri Lanka, to play a role in its economic recovery. They act as vectors of cooperation between their institutions in New Zealand, in my case, and those in their homeland in Sri Lanka. These connections provide value to both of our countries. And there's much we can learn from one another, especially around indigenous knowledge. Indeed, research excellence also means harnessing the knowledge of those that have gone before us. In Sri Lanka, there's an intellectual tradition that goes back millennia. In New Zealand, we understand that unlocking the science and innovation potential of our indigenous Māori knowledge and people and resources will benefit New Zealand. And for this reason, we have a vision mātauranga policy, which seeks to unlock the science and innovation potential of mātauranga Māori. And we already see that translating into excellent research as well as excellent application and commercialization of that research in New Zealand. And beyond Indigenous people, it's more generally important in the New Zealand context, and I would add globally, to focus on the diversity to ensure that we capture the very best ideas of the talent and to support the highest quality research. We believe that everyone should have a fair and equal opportunity to participate in the science system to their fullest potential. On that note, I wish all of those participating in the 2023 ARS fruitful and successful exchanges over the coming days. Your commitment to research excellence and beyond across the University of Colombo's many faculties, institutions, schools and disciplines is an inspiration, and I'm sure that it will help support Sri Lanka's development and recovery in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for spending your valuable time here with us today and for gracing this special occasion with your presence. We extend our sincere appreciation to Honorable Andrew Traveller, the Deputy High Commissioner of New Zealand to Sri Lanka. I now invite the Vice-Chancellor of University of Colombo, Senior Professor, Chair H.D. Karunaratne, to present a small token of appreciation to him, and we invite Honorable Andrew Traveller, the Deputy High Commissioner of New
in central banking and Veerasinghe, the governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, who will now deliver his keynote speech.
Kannarat scholars and researchers for inviting me to this important occasion. And also, let me first congratulate the university, the professor, and all the faculty members and staff for the excellent performance and achievements that I was just saying from the University of Colombo. And also, when I just went through the volume of abstract of research, I was impressed with very diverse areas of disciplines that we have been able to generate, produce valuable research, and also your contributions to the global research, which is very important contribution from academia and for the help the global and local developments to make evidence-based policy making as well as evidence-based research is important aspect of especially from a top-ranked university. Let me again thank you and congratulate for the achievements. And of course, one other, I would like to share one my personal experience with the university. When I was coming in, one of the professors asked me whether it's the first time you're coming into this not an unfamiliar place to me. I can share with you in 1990 when this in the south. After graduation, another 8-9 years. But for some reason, there were problems in the late 1980s in this area for disturbance of the then situation in the south. And then we had some problems in running our businesses. As I was looking for opportunities, and someone told me, those days, why don't you come and do this? One of my friends of the first batch said, there's this course, why don't you come and do this IT course, which then was a big demand and this created a lot of opportunities. Even then, this technology, after almost 8 years of graduation, in 1990, August, I think 1990, second batch somewhere in January, I joined, enrolled for the course, completed the first semester successfully. But then because I was searching for jobs, applying for positions, then I joined was able to get into People's Bank as a management trainee, and after 8 months, I joined the Central Bank again as a management trainee through a competitive exam, and I left without completing, as I'm not an alumni of your university, because I was able to complete. But I must share other thing. I had a lifetime reward by joining this course. That's why I met my wife. So that's why I never forget the life I had during this brief period here at the university, and this building and those surrounding buildings here. So with that, let's get back into my theme to deliver the keynote address today. In fact, it has been great pleasure and honor for me to deliver a keynote speech at this important research symposium at your university, held under the theme of research excellence and beyond. I think a very timely theme. I make this an opportunity to thank Professor already mentioned for inviting me to this occasion. Today, I would like to share my insight on the topic, which is much relevant to the central bank job that I am doing now, so that you heard where I come from. Since I joined the central bank, its topic is inflation, public enemy number one. So let me share why I say that and the reasons and evidence-based reasons on my topic. Inflation, obviously, is a topic that affects every aspect of our lives. You all know better than mine, looking at the cross-border protests going on as a result of inflation. It's a force that shapes our purchasing power, influences our financial decisions, and impacts the overall stability of our society. That's why we saw some social unrest last year because we saw inflation was rising, cost of living was so high, and people didn't have sufficient incomes to meet the rising inflation. In the year 2022, inflation accelerated to extraordinary levels globally, driven by lagged effects of ultra-easy monetary and fiscal support, mainly following the COVID-19 pandemic, supply shortages and capacity constraints, along with supply chain issues. That was mainly with the COVID. That's a global issue. Affected by global as well as domestic factors, Sri Lanka also experienced even very high inflation at unprecedented levels in 2022. However, in late 2022, Sri Lanka entered an impressive disinflation path. If you can remember, it was 70%, and food inflation was 95%, almost 100%, double the level of prices that we had a year ago, which means 100% of food inflation. But eventually bringing down inflation to the down target levels within a period of 1 year. So after 12 months, now we are having inflation. Still, inflation means, as we all know, rising levels of prices, but still at a much lower rate of 1% now compared to 70% we had last year. Sri Lanka's swift disinflation process was supported by a combination of policy measures implemented by both the central bank and the government. In the next few minutes, I will delve into international experience and the academic outcomes on the causes and consequences of inflation, the role of monetary policy in coping with inflation, especially the role of central banks, the dynamics of Sri Lanka's high inflation episode, and the role of central bank Sri Lanka in managing inflation and inflation expectations, with special emphasis to the new Central Banking Act of Sri Lanka. A better understanding of the above could help shape academic research, which would also contribute towards effective policy making and business decisions. Why would I say inflation as a number one public enemy? Inflation, a fundamental concept in economics, refers to the sustained increase in general price levels of goods and services in an economy over a period of time. It's not one-off, it's a sustained period over a period of time. When inflation occurs, each unit of currency buys fewer goods and services than it did before, leading to a decrease in the purchasing power of money. Over the years, economists and policymakers emphasize the seriousness and negative impact of inflation on the economy and people's lives. High inflation episodes have been recurring phenomenon in economic history, causing significant challenges for nations and their citizens. It was in this context that Gerald Ford, the 38th President of the United States, even declared inflation as public enemy number one. In one of the President Ford's addresses to Congress in 1974, he stated, this was 1970, early 1970, we had hyperinflation globally with petroleum prices in crisis. Only two of my predecessors, quote, only two of my predecessors have come in person to call upon Congress for a declaration of war, and I shall not do that. But I say to you with all sincerity that our inflation, our public enemy number one, will, unless whipped, destroy our country, our homes, our liberties, our property, and finally, our national pride, as surely as any well-armed wartime enemy, unquote. So this is even enemy, worse than a war. President Ford introduced the slogan, "Whip inflation now," which is called, in shorter form, WIN, as part of his campaign to fight inflation, and even started wearing buttons with WIN. Although the outcome of this campaign is debatable, it illustrates how much of a problem inflation was in the 1970s, not only in Sri Lanka but globally. So let me just share some of the other historical episodes of high inflation. Indeed, many countries have grappled with high inflation, and in some cases, hyperinflation, what we call inflation going to go up over 100 and then going up to thousands, then we call hyperinflation. So fortunately, we didn't have that experience. We were able to contain it after below 700%. One of the most infamous cases of hyperinflation occurred in Germany during early 1920s. Following World War I, Germany experienced a severe economic crisis exacerbated by the repression imposed by the Treaty of Versailles. The German government printed an excessive amount of money to meet its obligations after the end of the war, leading to hyperinflation. Prices skyrocketed and people's saving became worthless. At its peak, prices were doubling every few days, and workers were paid multiple times a day. That was the situation in Germany just after the end of the war in 1920s. At its peak, prices were double. Then another example, Zimbabwe in the late 2000s faced hyperinflation due to a combination of economic mismanagement, land reforms, and political instability. The government printed money recklessly, causing prices to soar at an astronomical rate. At its peak in mid-November 2008, not too fast, not too in the recent history, Zimbabwe's hyperinflation reached an astounding monthly rate of, I was talking about annual inflation, this is monthly rate of around 500 billion%. This quote by Moy 2023, the latest paper. The Zimbabwean dollar became practically worthless, and the country abandoned its own currency, relying on foreign currencies for transactions. Similarly, countries such as Argentina, Brazil, Venezuela experienced hyperinflation crisis from time to time since 1980s. So we are seeing the repercussions of this hyperinflation on those countries and still struggling to recover from these hyperinflation episodes. Why hyperinflation or high inflation? Even hyperinflation is worse, but even high inflation is bad. inflation represents how much more expensive the relevant set of goods or services has become over a certain period, most commonly a year. When you talk about inflation, we call inflation, increased price level over a period of 1 year. To that extent that households' nominal income does not increase as much as prices. That we all know. That's why the academics are asking for higher salaries, because your inflation has gone up, level price gone up, but prices, incomes have not gone up to same extent. In other words, households' purchasing power or real income, inflation-adjusted income, falls. Real income is a proxy for the standard of living, and real incomes are rising, so is the standard of living, and vice versa. But I don't want to dwell on this more, because we had this experience last year, and already some of the quotas are experiencing this. Savers and investors suffer significant losses during the period of high inflation. It's not only the cost of living that erodes the value of your savings. It will become worthless of the savings that you are having in terms of the rupees. The real value of savings diminishes rapidly, while investors experience a decline in the real returns of their investments. Moreover, high inflation breeds uncertainty in the economy. Businesses face difficulties in planning for the future, unsure of their future costs and revenues. This uncertainty leads to reduced investments and hampers economic growth. Furthermore, nations experiencing high inflation find their international competitiveness severely compromised. As domestic prices rise, cost of exports increases, making products less competitive in the global market. The situation can lead to trade imbalances that we have seen already and hinder economic recovery efforts, further exacerbating the challenges posed by high inflation. Although high inflation hurts an economy, deflation, on the other hand, what they call steady decline of prices or falling prices, is not desirable either. When prices are falling, consumers delay making purchases if they can anticipate any low prices in the future. If price levels are coming down, which means people who consume today, who make investment today, would delay their decision, that will have impact on their own economies. For the economy, this means less economic activity, less income generated by producers, low economic growth. As you may know, Japan is one country with a long period of nearly no economic growth, largely because of this deflation. Given the above, most economists now believe that low and stable inflation, and most importantly, predictable inflation, is good for an economy. What I'm saying here is not the high inflation. Low and stable economy is needed for economic growth. If the inflation is low and predictable, it is easier to capture it in price adjustment contracts and interest rates, reducing its distortionary impact. Then let me just share what causes inflation. Inflation could be influenced by numerous factors. Understanding these diverse causes of inflation is essential for academics as well as policymakers to recommend and implement appropriate measures to maintain stable prices and support economic growth. Demandful inflation occurs when the demand for goods and services exceeds their supply. That's what we call money supply exceeds the demand. When the demand outstrips supply, business often raises prices to maximize their profits. Cost push inflation occurs when the cost to produce goods and services increases, leading businesses to pass the additional cost onto consumers in the form of higher prices. This can be caused by rising wages, increased cost of raw materials, or other production-related expenses. Expectations also play a key role in determining inflation. That's a very important one, is the expectation channel. If people or firms anticipate higher prices or high inflation, they build this expectation into wage negotiations and contractual price adjustments. So it's important inflation is stable and that factor into all the economic decisions. To the extent that people base their expectations on the recent past, what they call adaptive expectations, inflation would follow similar patterns over time, resulting what we call inflation inertia. That when you have a long period of high inflation, that will feed into inflation expectations. In the long run, inflation is primarily caused by factors related to the overall increase in the money supply. This is an important factor. It's a money supply. Money has a lot of things to do with inflation in an economy related to growth in real output of goods and services. If the money supply grows too big relative to the size of an economy, the unit value of the currency diminishes. In other words, its purchasing power falls and prices rise. That's what we are seeing even in Sri Lanka in the recent past. Milton Friedman, a Nobel laureate in economics, argued that, quote, inflation is always an area of monetary phenomena, unquote. Friedman argued that changes in money supply, driven by central bank policies and other monetary factors, are the primary drivers of inflation in the long run, while other factors can cause short-term fluctuations in prices. While Friedman's insight into the monetary roots of inflation remains a fundamental principle, economists and policymakers now consider a broader array of factors when analyzing inflation trends. Modern economic analysis incorporates a more holistic approach, recognizing the interplay of various elements in shaping inflationary outcomes. How the next part I talk about how policymakers deal with inflation and the role of monetary policy, so that we know money has to play a big role in determining inflation. Then how the policymakers can manage that situation. The policies aimed at reducing inflation depend to a great extent on the causes of inflation. If the economy has overheated and inflation is primarily demand-driven, central banks can implement contractionary monetary policy that rein in aggregate demand. Indeed, the central banks play a crucial role in controlling inflation through monetary policy. This is where all over the world, the key responsibility of any country, monetary authority, is the price stability objective. Similarly, one of the primary objectives of monetary policy, as emphasized by many central banks around the world, is, as I said, maintain price stability. Price stability, which is measured by low and stable inflation, is crucial for a healthy economy, as it ensures that the purchasing power of a currency remains relatively constant over time. Economists have argued that stable prices create a favorable environment for long-term economic growth and investments. I quote Mishkin to 2007, the work that he has done. Moreover, monetary policy also plays a role in promoting economic growth. Studies by Romer in his paper 1993 and Barrow and Salai Martin in 2004 suggest that stable monetary policies are positively correlated with long-term economic growth. So that's very strong evidence. Central banks use a range of tools to influence the money supply and interest rates affecting inflation. Traditional tools for some central banks we have been doing even in the past include policy interest rates, open market operations, and reserve requirements. Following the 2008 financial crisis, central banks implemented unconventional monetary policies such as forward guidance, quantitative easing, asset purchasing, and negative interest rates. Furthermore, central bankers are increasingly relying on their ability to influence inflation expectations as an inflation reduction tool. Policymakers announced their intention to keep economic activity low temporarily to bring down inflation, hoping to influence expectations. The more credibility central banks have, the greater the influence of their pronouncement on inflation expectation. That's why central bank credibility is the key to anchor inflation expectation. Otherwise, what we say, people, if you don't believe, there's no anchoring inflation expectations. However, monetary policy is faced with increasing challenges and trade-offs. For example, what we call famous the Phillips curve, the theory held by Phillips. The Phillips curve, which describes the inverse relationship between inflation and unemployment or output, has been the subject of extensive research. Studies that integrate monetary policy, inflation, and output stabilization have provided insights into trade-offs faced by policymakers. I can quote several papers, Clarida, Gall, and Gertler in 1999. It's a very landmark research when achieving price stability. Furthermore, with increased globalization, international factors can have a heightened impact on domestic inflation, as convert of Swill and Rogoff in 2002. This shed light on complexities of maintaining price stability in a globalized world. Across the globe, monetary policy frameworks cover various approaches. It's not that there's no unique monetary policy approach to address inflation. Approaches, strategies, and models employed by central banks to achieve their objectives, such as price stability. Among those approaches and strategies, inflation targeting has been a widely adopted monetary policy framework since the 1990s. Sure, New Zealand is one of the pioneers of inflation targeting. And obviously, we had some assistance from courtesy of High Commission here. Got some experts from the former central bankers to share the experiences. Under inflation targeting, central banks set explicit inflation targets and use policy instruments to achieve them. Studies show that countries adopting inflation targeting are benefited in terms of providing clear objectives to the stakeholders and enhance transparency. This is evidence-based research by Bernanke, former Federal Reserve Bank chair, Lobash, Mishkin, and Posen in 1990 paper. Many central banks have moved toward flexible inflation targeting, a special case of inflation targeting, which allows temporary deviation from the target to accommodate shocks to the real economy. Flexible inflation targeting has its advantage in terms of stabilizing both inflation and the real economy. This evidence in Symposium 2010, former deputy governor of the European Central Bank. Then just share with some recent episodes of global inflation. We are always talking about the very high interest rates in globally major central banks and as a result of global inflation. Despite the advances in monetary policy frameworks across the globe, inflation accelerated to unprecedented levels during the year 2022 in other countries, as advanced countries especially. According to the IMF, global inflation accelerated to 8.7% in 2022. Usually we are seeing 0 or 2% inflation, but all of a sudden went up to 8.7% from global average of 4.7% in the previous year. Within the year, double the rate of inflation, reflecting the impact of lagged effects of ultra-easy monetary and fiscal support following the COVID-19 pandemic, shortages of fuel and non-fuel commodities exacerbated by the Russian-Ukraine conflict, and capacity constraints around the supply chain issues due to COVID-19 restrictions. Many countries allowed the pass-through of high global prices to the domestic economy as administrative price settings measures that are not cost-reflective usually result in the government's accrual of large subsidy bills that we have also experienced to compensate producers for their lost income. However, in the light of substantial monetary tightening by major central banks in the world, the resultant slowing of economic activity, easing supply chain disruptions, and moderating prices of energy and other commodities, inflation started to moderate recently in 2023. Nonetheless, the forecast level of inflation in 2023 and even 2024 are still higher than pre-pandemic levels of around 3.5%. This is the challenge that all global central banks are having. Once it's gone up, it's difficult to bring it down in a short period of time. Moreover, the underlying price pressures are proving sticky with labor markets tight in several economies. Therefore, what we call co-inflation, which is what we call underlying inflation, is likely to decline more slowly in the period ahead. Further, with rising geopolitical tensions is another factor in the Middle East, upside risk to global inflation if that has wide implications on the energy prices. So let me just share with you the Sri Lanka's economic crisis and rising inflation that is familiar story. In 2022, Sri Lanka experienced its worst ever economic crisis, a crisis that was in the making for many years, triggered by policy errors and exacerbated by other exogenous factors. Failure to build fiscal and external buffers over time made the nation vulnerable to domestic and external shocks, and the COVID-19 pandemic and the related shocks unearthed the vulnerabilities in Sri Lankan economy, bringing about the worst economic crisis in Sri Lankan history. The resultant economic hardships led to both public anxiety and political upheaval. By early 2022, The economy faced severe challenges due to an unsustainable macroeconomic model, along with the persistent budget deficits and external current account imbalances. These issues, influenced by global and domestic factors, had depleted the economy's foreign exchange reserves. As a result, the country experienced intense pressure on its balance of payments, leading to a shortage of foreign exchange, a weakened exchange rate, soaring inflation, as we already discussed, and reduced economic activity and contracting economy. Although Sri Lanka managed to have single-digit inflation prior to the crisis, we were able to manage single-digit inflation over 12 years since 2009. Inflation rose to historical high levels during the crisis in 2022, stemming from global oil and all the reasons that I already explained. And contrary to the co-momentum in inflation and economic growth in regular business cycles, Sri Lanka witnessed inflation and economic growth moving in opposite direction. Inflation was increasing at 70%, while economy is contracting at 8%. Is completely opposite direction, as supply as well as demand-driven inflation accelerated over inflation and economic growth stalled. This is the experience that we are seeing in a lot of other hyperinflation countries for a long period of economic stagnation and high inflation, making people unable to, and living standards falling sharply, and more poverty in those countries. What are the measures that were taken to overcome this sharp rise in inflation? Several policy measures have been taken by the central bank to stabilize the economy and tighten monetary and credit conditions, with a view to countering rising inflation pressures and anchoring inflation expectations. The central bank tightened monetary policy significantly, starting from gradually in August 2021, and with a significant increase in policy rates in April 2022. Monetary policy had to be conducted with an unprecedented level of deliberations as the country entered a phase of high inflation, with the threat of hyperinflation and economic stagnation. And tightening of monetary policy will not only result in a reduction in inflation, but also economic growth. In parallel, central bank also implemented a series of policy measures aimed at maintaining external sector stability and building up reserves and reducing import demand. Since the beginning of monetary tightening cycle in August 2021, the central bank's key policy interest rates, what we call standing deposit and lending facilities, raised by 11 percentage points, the historically highest increase in central bank policy rates within a short period, especially in April. Furthermore, during this tightening phase, the central bank increased what we call statutory reserve ratio, SRR, by 2 percentage points, while several caps also were imposed on interest rates, and those are now removed and allowing for greater upward adjustment in market interest rates during the tightening cycle. The unprecedented upward adjustment of policy interest rates helped arrest further build-up of demand-driven inflation pressures, thereby preempting the escalation of adverse inflation expectations, easing the pressure on the external sector, and correcting anomalies observed in the market interest rate structure. That was the first painful policy measure that we had to take. Although painful, this was the only way out to address the situation that we had. Then disinflation process. Result of those tight policies, outcome of the policy efforts discussed above have eventuated since late 2022. Sri Lanka's inflation started moderating from its peak around 70%, as I mentioned earlier, is now around almost 1% after 12 months period. I don't want to show a lot of numbers here. In terms of economic factors, this process was supported by subdued aggregate demand conditions due to tight monetary and fiscal policies, improvements in domestic supply conditions, improving external sector performance in terms of foreign reserves, and some normalization of global commodity prices, and the pass-through of such reduction in domestic prices, and recovering economic activities gradually. So statistically, the disinflation process was influenced by both the momentum effect and the base effect. As you say, when you have very high inflation, and there's a base effect also playing a role, and also momentum effect with high contribution from the latter. For the medium term, following the rapid disinflation thus far in 2023, inflation is expected to stabilize at the targeted level of what we call 5% is the right level of inflation for Sri Lanka. As I said earlier, we need some stable, low and stable inflation, not disinflation, to support the growth. They should be supported by appropriate monetary policy measures, along with improving supply conditions. Moreover, Sri Lanka's disinflation process is expected to turn around from September 2023 with the dissipating impact of favorable base. Therefore, the average 1% is an aberration, it's an adjustment, but it will settle somewhere around 5% in the medium to long term. Let me just finally just to share with about the monetary policy framework and new central banking act that we have been able to bring in as part of the reforms that we have implemented in the recent past. The legislative framework introduced by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Act number 16 of 2023, what they call earlier Monetary Law Act, now we have a new act called New Central Banking Act, would reinforce price stability in the period ahead while ensuring that inflation expectations remain well anchored. The new Central Bank Act gives prominence to price stability by stating the primary objective of the Central Bank is now to achieve domestic price stability, which means low and stable inflation. In pursuing this primary objective, Central Bank shall take into account entirely the stabilization output. It's not only inflation, but take into account stabilization of output towards its potential level. The other objective of Central Bank shall be to secure financial system stability. That's the second objective, to maintain stable banking and financial system. Under the Central Bank Act, there shall be a monetary policy board of the Central Bank. I'm glad to note that one of the members from your university, Professor Dunu Singh, is now a member of the monetary policy board, which is charged with the formulation of monetary policy and implementation of flexible exchange rate regime in line with flexible inflation targeting framework in order to achieve and maintain domestic price stability. The creation of a separate decision-making body in addition to the governing board, which is the main board of the central bank, this monetary policy we have a separate board now, signifies the importance placed on independent monetary policy making for achieving domestic price stability by this new legislation. Also, the Central Bank Act formally recognizes flexible inflation targeting, as I mentioned earlier, is a more successful inflation targeting monetary policy framework. As the monetary policy framework and requires the signing of a monetary policy framework agreement, setting out the inflation target to be achieved by the central bank, we have to sign an agreement between Ministry of Finance and Central Bank on the level of inflation that we have to achieve. Accordingly, the Central Bank entered into an agreement with the Ministry of Finance in October 2023, the last month, where it was stated that the Central Bank shall aim to maintain quarterly headline inflation rate at a target of 5%, with a margin of plus or minus 2% over a period of time, in the medium to long term. If the central bank fails to, there's also accountability provisions, very strong accountability provision in the new law. Independent does not mean that we are not accountable. The central bank fails to meet the inflation target by the margin determined in the agreement for 2 consecutive quarters. The Monetary Policy Board shall submit a report to the Parliament through the Minister, which shall also be made available to the public, accountable to the public and the markets, setting out the reasons for the failure to achieve the inflation targets and an estimate of the time period within which inflation targets shall be achieved and the measures also. These provisions, along with enhanced transparency and accountability, would ensure that inflation in Sri Lanka would be maintained at low and stable levels in the period ahead, thereby benefiting all stakeholders in the economy. As I mentioned earlier, that's why inflation is a public enemy number 1. That's why we have these all strong provisions for independent central bank to deliver its objectives in a much more prudent manner. In conclusion, headwinds due to consecutive economic shocks in recent years have severely affected Sri Lanka's economic activity in 2022 and early 2023 this year, inflicting hardships on individuals and businesses. The government and the central bank implemented painful but unavoidable policy measures aimed at restoring macroeconomic stability, which is a priority, which was priority at the time. The near-term economic stabilization measures implemented thus far are unprecedented in the history of Sri Lanka and started delivering the expected positive outcomes as we now maintaining some stability. Inflation declined, as I mentioned already, sharply, little over 1% by September 2023, and is expected to hover around the targeted level for the medium term. And similarly, because we are in a balance of payment crisis, external sector performance and foreign exchange performance is also important. It's improved so far, and exchange rate appreciated in 2023. The program with the IMF that we have presented is progressing, and stability of the finance sector has also been preserved amidst numerous challenges. There are a lot of concerns on the finance system stability, banking sector. They have been able to maintain stability there. Monetary policy will remain focused on ensuring price stability over the medium term, while giving due regard to the stabilizing economic growth towards its potential under what we call flexible inflation targeting policy framework in implementing monetary policy. Going forward, the conduct of monetary policy will continue to be based on a forward-looking, data-driven, and evidence-based approach, supported by recent and expected macroeconomic developments and predictions, and also very good research. Both domestic, the timely adjustments to policies and strategies of the central bank will be made under the flexible inflation target framework as and when new information becomes available. Maintenance of inflation at a low and stable level would eliminate large swings in interest rates, thus creating an enabling environment for business. This way, evidence-based policy making is quite important. We also have annual research conference like what we have here, mainly focusing on central bank objectives like monetary policy, financial stability. We had one recently, international research conference, focusing, inviting a lot of research all around the world. I think I'm sure President Singh was also part of that, participated. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka Act would allow more independence to the central bank, limiting monetary financing and thereby strengthening policy targeted at maintaining inflation and inflation expectations. The primary object of the central bank being the maintenance of domestic price stability, the new act will serve as key buffer for the Sri Lankan economy against inflation. Moreover, the central bank remains committed to maintaining headline inflation at the targeted levels, thereby tackling inflation, public enemy number one, transparently and proactively. So let me wish, with that I conclude my speech today. And I would like to appreciate the efforts of the University of Colombo to strive for research excellence in a lot of areas. I would encourage you to also engage in practical research and evidence-based research, even more in economic areas, monetary policy, system stability areas as well. I wish the best of luck to all participants of Annual Research Symposium 2023. I hope that symposium will serve as a platform to demonstrate the university's cohesive approach to research excellence, transcending conventional boundaries to participate in socially and practically significant research, aligned with various research domains. Thank you very much.
Dr. Veerasinghe, we deeply appreciate your profound insights. I'm confident that your words will serve as a guiding light, leading us towards a greater knowledge. Now I would like to invite our Senior Professor, H.G. Karunaratne, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Colombo, to come up on stage to present token of appreciation to our keynote speaker, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe. Professor Tarusha Gunaratne, Chairperson of Annual Research Symposium, will accompany him to the stage.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam. Next, taking a brief interlude in this academic gathering and delving into a different facet of our institution. Please join me in welcoming the captivating performers of the Dancing Circle of the University of Colombo as they take the stage.
Join your hands once again for the splendid performance by our very own students from the dancing circle. Dr. Alaka Singh has an educational background in health and development with a first degree from the Delhi University, advanced degrees from the College of William and Mary, Virginia, United States, and Cambridge University, United Kingdom. Counting over 2 decades of experience in health and development, spanning positions at all levels of the World Health Organization, her expertise centers on health systems, primary health care, and universal health coverage. Notably, she played a key role in developing the first regional strategy on universal health coverage and has contributed advancing PHC post-COVID. Prior to WHO, she worked with the World Bank, focusing on health systems in India. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will be listening to our keynote speaker, Dr. Alaka Singh, the representative of the World Health Organization in Sri Lanka. As Dr. Alaka is unable to attend the symposium physically due to an unexpected WHO regional meeting, she has kindly shared a recording of her keynote address.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting WHO to the annual research symposium of the University of Colombo 2023. It is an honor to be part of this event with some of the finest researchers in the country and indeed internationally. From WHO, the focus of the symposium on beyond research excellence is very aligned to our recent efforts on highlighting knowledge translation of research to address policy challenges, or to use the more broad concept, knowledge translation for evidence-informed decision-making. More significantly, effective knowledge translation in Sri Lanka is the urgent need of the hour to recalibrate the primary healthcare system and safeguard health in the context of the poly-crisis the country is facing currently. I would like to use this opportunity to share WHO's thinking and action on beyond research excellence as captured by our effort on knowledge translation for evidence-informed decision-making, or EIDM, and specific actions taken in Sri Lanka. EIDM has its roots in the evidence-based medicines movement and health technology assessments dating back to the 1980s. It has since expanded beyond clinical care and health systems to include a broader notion of evidence-based policymaking. The more recent emphasis on evidence-informed rather than evidence-based decision-making and policy-making takes into account that research evidence is often but one of several factors influencing policy-making processes. As we're witnessing in Sri Lanka today, policy-making inherently takes place in a broader political context with economic interests, institutional constraints, citizen values, and stakeholder needs. EIDM emphasizes that decisions should be informed by the best available evidence from research, as well as other factors such as context, public opinion, equity, feasibility in implementation, affordability, sustainability, and acceptability to all stakeholders. It is a systematic and transparent approach that applies structured and reparable methods to identify, appraise, and the use of evidence across decision-making processes, including for implementation. EIDM adheres to the principles of equity, equality, and accountability. The pivotal role of evidence for effective health policy and improved practice has been extensively documented and repeatedly emphasized in clinical care, public health, and at the health systems level. EIDM has the potential to improve the effectiveness, efficiency, and equity of health policies and interventions. It facilitates more effective use of resources in healthcare, reduces research waste, and improves transparency and accountability, all very relevant in Sri Lanka today. Evidence per se is defined as factual knowledge gained through observation or experimentation in support of a conclusion. Evidence can be broadly grouped into scientific evidence or tacit evidence. Scientific or research evidence refers to knowledge that is explicit and systematically brought together and can be judged by its methodology. Scientific evidence is produced through more formal, rigorous research processes, including primary and secondary research and evidence products such as guidelines or evidence briefs for policy or tertiary research. Tacit or colloquial knowledge is mostly informal and often includes opinions, values, and habits of policymakers, clinicians, patients, or citizens expressed in different forms in formal deliberation dialogues, websites, policy documents, reports, and other formats. It's important to note that the relationship between scientific and tacit evidence is complementary rather than competitive. In EIDM, tacit evidence is often used to support, complement, or even question the appropriateness of scientific evidence and extends the evidence ecosystem. As an additional distinction, scientific evidence can also be assessed for its relevance at global, regional, or local level. Global evidence assembles the best available findings on a specific thematic or health issue from around the world and can be synthesized in the form of a systematic review or operationalized in a tertiary research product, such as a guideline. As all evidence is context-specific, global evidence is, however, not always easily transferable to a specific local context, and its application beyond the original context or setting needs to be assessed and judged very carefully. Additional local evidence, including observations in a specific setting, administrative data, or primary studies, need to be consulted to take into account modifying factors such as local prevalence of a disease, local perceptions and values, or cost and available resources. Irrespective of how relevant, applicable, or convincing a piece of evidence appears to be to address a given policy issue, it virtually never automatically drives tangible policy and practice change. Critical here is closing the research to policy gap. In a 2014 study on the use of knowledge products and policy reports at the World Bank, it was found that more than 30% of policy reports are never downloaded, and 87% of assessed knowledge products were never cited in other research or policy documents. In healthcare and clinical research, practice change from knowledge translation activities have been reported at an equally low 8 to 15%. This research to policy gap or no to do gap is often caused by a lack of institutional capacity and resources to translate knowledge into policy and practice beyond research excellence, and further complicated by other considerations like budgetary limitations. At the same time, researchers and policymakers' perception of how new knowledge is being disseminated and incorporated into policy and practice can differ widely and is often misconceived as a unilateral translation process, not requiring any additional effort. Advice on how to drive policy and practice change offered to researchers, for example, is only very rarely built on empirical evidence of the impact or a clear understanding of policy-making processes and evidence use. From healthcare providers, for example, there has been a call for evidence to become more practice-informed in order to facilitate effectiveness, evidence-informed practice. Successful knowledge translation works with different forms of evidence and additionally builds on managerial leadership, strong organizational networks, providing opportunities for strategic alliances and strategic communication tactics. EIDM builds on several known facilitators for the successful uptake of evidence at policymaking, research, and institutional levels. These include increased collaborative relationships or personal contacts between researchers and policymakers, timely access to good quality and relevant research evidence, inclusion of policy implementation and applications in summaries of research, and capacity building initiatives for EIDM strategies for policymakers. Strategies to improve the use of evidence to inform policy and practice can be summarized as knowledge translation approaches and are a key tool in EIDM. By definition, as given by WHO, knowledge translation is the exchange of synthesis and effective communication of reliable and relevant research results. The focus is on promoting interaction between the producers and users of research, removing the barriers to research use and tailoring information for different target audiences so that effective interventions can be used more widely. There are different models conceptualizing how evidence translates into change at policy level and in program implementation. There are knowledge-driven models, predominantly rooted in the natural sciences, assume that basic and applied research directly leads to the development of new technology, which with implementation of the relevant findings. In this model, the sheer fact that knowledge exists presses it into development and use. Knowledge-driven models, therefore, assume instrumental utilization of research, that is, the direct translation of findings into a decision or intervention. In a problem-solving model of evidence uptake, the assumption is that research is consulted or explicitly commissioned by decision makers looking for a solution to a policy issue. Problem-solving models additionally frame the use of evidence as conceptual if it changes a stakeholder's perception or discourse on an issue that is directly changing a policy, and as symbolic or tactical if evidence is merely used to legitimize a political position or practice. Building on these different models, WHO's Evidence-Informed Policy Network, EVIP-NET, classifies knowledge translation into push, user pull, exchange, and integrated efforts to close the policy to research gap. Push efforts where knowledge producers or researchers actively aim to tailor and disseminate key messages from research findings to intended policy audiences. For example, user-friendly summaries of systematic reviews or policy briefs. User pull efforts support structures that provide decision makers with the tools to gather knowledge as part of their decision-making process, and that enable policymakers to request evidence from the research communities. These include online repositories of high-quality, policy-relevant, systematic reviews, evidence synthesis, data monitoring, or stakeholder consultations, or a rapid response unit that forms the basis for meeting policymaker research needs. Exchange efforts are where researchers and policymakers develop partnership and collaborative research projects in which relevant questions are jointly asked and addressed, such as policy dialogue, which are structured face-to-face discussions between decision makers, stakeholders, and researchers to contextualize and interpret research and other evidence based on tacit knowledge and real-world experiences of the parties involved. Integrated efforts or knowledge translation platforms bring together these various knowledge translation strategies as discussed in the previous groups. Since the release of its guide for evidence-informed decision-making in 2021, WHO has supported 2 key events now for member states to actually implement EIGM. There was a WHO Evidence to Policy Summit held in November 2021. Here, a call of action together on the road to evidence-informed decision-making for health in the post-pandemic era was launched by the new Evidence-Informed Policy Network. COVID-19 brought the spotlight on the Evidence Policy Society nexus. EVIP-NET call for action charters the way forward for systematic and improved evidence-based informed health policy making towards more resilient, equitable, and sustainable global health, both for future emergencies as well as recurring political and societal changes. The call explicitly invites government, intergovernmental organizations such as the UN system, international financing institutes, including the World Bank and ADB, and other key stakeholders like yourselves, critically, to join the WHO Evidence-Informed Policy Network and commit to 4 main focus areas: institutionalizing structures and processes to support evidence-informed decision-making, using high-quality norms, standards, and tools to promote evidence-informed decision-making, striving to ensure national and international capacity for the translation and the use of evidence in decision-making, and finally, striving to ensure that evidence is accessible, timely, and relevant for policymakers, especially in emergency situations. In August this year, WHO organized a follow-up Evidence to Policy Summit. Sir Jean-Marie Farrar, WHO Chief Scientist, noted in his opening remarks that translating evidence to policy is a slow and often hard process, but it's of great significance in addressing global challenges. Quote, it is an interface between science and policy that real progress is made. And it needs 4 key attributes: that evidence is adequate, it is understood, it has been framed for policymakers, and it can be monitored. The summit focused on how to build trust and foster effective collaboration and partnerships. As one delegate underlined, facilitating trust relationships is not a soft skill, it is a hard skill and needs prioritized time and funding under sustained periods of time. It's not the knowledge that is missing, it's the capacity to transform this knowledge into good and successful practices. A new WHO guide on citizens' engagement speaking to this requirement in evidence-based decision-making will become available later this year with tools and guidelines to advance the area. Importantly, the summit discussed institutionalizing evidence-based policy making, including leveraging AI for impact. Institutionalizing EIDM requires standardized processes, partnerships, coordination, transparency, and skilled brokerage. It is a process as much as it is that it's an outcome. WHO has identified six specific domains to support institutionalization: governance, standards and routinized processes, leadership and commitment, resource and capacity building, partnership, and a culture of promoting evidence-informed decision-making. Related, the summit also discussed efforts to institutionalize evidence to policy processes, integrating AI more effectively and ethically into evidence ecosystems. There was an emphasis on the vision-building benefit that AI can bring, including accelerating the production and synthesis of evidence, as well as the creation of evidence products, dissemination and evaluation across the evidence ecosystem. However, EIDM products are not immune to the universal concern about accuracy, bias, transparency of AI-generated products. Policy foresight and future thinking will play a critical role here. To advance knowledge translation for evidence-informed decision-making in the context of the current challenges in health and development policy in Sri Lanka, WHO has established a Center for Health Systems Policy and Innovation in technical partnership with the Faculty of Medicine, Colombo University, and the George Institute for Global Health, University of New South Wales, Australia. Funding support has also been provided by the ADB. As a foundation for EIDM, the center is an integrated platform to close the research to policy gap in health systems, combining push, user pull, and exchange efforts. For this, 3 streams of work have been initiated already: dialogue for knowledge and experience sharing, as well as stakeholder consensus on policy issues going forward, evidence generation for policy consideration, and capacity strengthening to facilitate the implementation of agreed options. In implementing the 3 streams of work, the center will act as a network hub to local and international entities, identifying and working with relevant partners as the scope of knowledge translation expands. WHO is committed to help strengthen the center as a key effort to institutionalize EIDM in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to the proceedings from the discussion at this very important annual research symposium.
We express our sincere appreciation to Dr. Alaka for those insightful words. I would now like to request Dr. Shalala Ahmedova to come on stage to receive the token of appreciation on behalf of Dr. Alaka. And I would also like to invite the Vice Chancellor, sir, accompanied by the Chairperson of ARS, to hand over the token of appreciation. Thank you very much, sirs and madams. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move on with our third keynote address. Being a professor and business analytic discipline leader at La Trobe University Business School, he is the founding director of the Research Center for Data Analytics and Cognition at La Trobe and a visiting professor at Luleå University of Technology, Sweden, and the University of Moratuwa, Sri Lanka. With 15 plus years of academia and 10 plus years in IT and finance, his research focuses on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and data analytics benefiting various sectors like healthcare, smart cities, and national security. He holds a PhD degree from Monash University, Australia, and Bachelor of Science Honours degree from our own University of Colombo. It is with utmost pleasure that I now respectfully invite Professor Daminda Alhakon, who will be joining us virtually from Melbourne to deliver his keynote address.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much. And thank you again for the very nice introduction. Distinguished guests, fellow academics and friends, it's a great pleasure to have this opportunity to talk to you at the 2023 University of Colombo Annual Research Symposium. I spent 4 of the happiest years of my life at University of Colombo and have such beautiful memories of that time. And I would like to thank the University of Colombo Vice Chancellor, Professor H.T. Karunaratne, and the chairperson of this event, Professor Tharusha Gunaratne, for this opportunity. My talk today is focused on artificial intelligence and how AI can enable and also facilitate cross-disciplinary research. So let me share my screen. I have a few PowerPoints. I don't think I have the, I should be able to share my screen. Can you give me the,
So now you can share the screen.
can you see the screen? Share the screen?
Yes, sir, we can see your screen.
Okay, great. Okay. All right, I'll continue. Thank you again. So as you can see, I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence and how artificial intelligence plays a role as the enabling and facilitating technology for cross-disciplinary research. Now, before I get into the actual cross-disciplinary part or the AI aspects and how the two come together, it's important to talk about, give some context and background. It's said that we live in an information age. And I'm sure you are familiar with the term big data. It's been around for some time. And artificial intelligence in such an environment plays a very different role from what AI used to be. AI, artificial intelligence, in the past was mainly computing-based technology that was trained on a particular data set, and then that was used as a tool to achieve a particular need and a goal. But in this information age, where everything we do, from the work we do, the socializing we do, and in the smart houses that we live in, and from transport to travel to everything we do, there is digital data being generated and captured in various forms. And that's what the information age is about. Of course, we do it for various purposes, to make life easier, and make ourselves do things more efficiently and effectively, and so on. And this is also called the big data. So big data is not just about large volumes of data. It's the digitalization of everything that we do, and the generation and the capturing of such information in various forms. Now, in this environment, the traditional practices of AI has changed, where we don't pick a particular set of data and carefully select samples and so on, pre-processes these, and then build AI models for a well-defined purpose. AI now is it has a different role, where a lot of more autonomy, where it can basically is exposed to and absorb this information, the volumes of large volumes of data in various different sources, and we call multiple dimensions. Dimensions are, it could be text, it could be social media, it could be images and videos and so on, and process it so that it can do things in a much more autonomous manner and generate value to us humans. So what we say is that the role of AI from the past being just a tool has changed to artificial intelligence that exists and coexists with us as humans, as another artificial being in a society of humans. Now, the term AI was coined in 1956, but the thoughts about AI has been around for a while. So it's important to understand how this term, the concept of AI evolved. So for hundreds and even thousands of years, people have thought about artificial beings, mostly or more in a more robotics or type of beings. But it is in 1956, as I said, the term AI was coined. And from then onwards, with the advent of computing and various computing technologies such as cloud computing, mobile, and specifically the internet, and of course, the way that when, especially with the internet, with social media coming in, and the humans starting to live in partly, almost partly in a virtual environment. For example, we socialize a lot on the internet, and we working from home and so on. So with such activities, we leave what we call digital footprints in many different processes and knowledge gathering aspects. So in such environment, so as I mentioned before, humans and the new type of AI will have to coexist and help each other. So when you say help, the humans create and so on a new type of AI, and the AI in turn work with, communicate and so on with humans. In such an environment, compared to before, it is not possible for AI to only interact with the very skilled or computer science or technology savvy humans. So this change has been called the democratization of AI. So with the democratization of AI, AI for everybody, basically, just like what happened in the past from to technology. There was some time ago, a few decades ago, the technology had to be operated and managed by highly skilled technicians or computer scientists or engineers, compared to now that everybody from and in many cases in our households and so on, we use technology. So the same thing is happening to AI, and that's called the democratization of AI. I'll give you some examples from Australia. So Australia has the Australian government has a digital economic strategy, and the Australia's artificial intelligence action plan is a core aspect of that. And I am not going to go into detail, but this is to give you an idea that this democratization of AI, or AI being used for almost every aspect, even in the economy and society, is now the key direction. For example, the AI is supposed to transform Australian businesses, and it's supposed to attract the world's best AI talent to Australia, and provide the cutting-edge technologies to solve Australia's national challenges, and but also becoming the global leader in what we call responsible and inclusive AI. Now, the last point, the focus 4, is something that has come up when AI is used in many multiple things, especially into their day-to-day life, and used by the people who are not specialists. It can be misused and used for various other purposes. That's where responsible and ethical use of AI has become a core, very important factor. Now, going into so how does this all impact cross-disciplinary research? Just a bit of, I guess, oversimplified way of looking at cross-disciplinary research. We all know about the story of the blind men or women, I guess, trying to explore or understand an elephant. So the key issue here is that instead of there is a change or shift in research as well. Research carried out in a specific discipline will look at, we'll say, extending that particular discipline in and advancing that particular discipline. But if you look at real life problems or building solutions to real life problems, then it has multiple angles. It's complex, interconnected, and of course, they have to be urgently done. That's where cross-disciplinary research is really important, because real-life problems are inherently cross-disciplinary. Therefore, researchers from across multiple disciplines have to work together to address such problems. And in such a case, where the researchers from different disciplines need to be able to understand each other, work with each other, and so on. This is where and this is where technology and artificial intelligence is playing a really important role. Now, before we go into that, so how does this happen? Again, I'm trying to connect what I mentioned about this information age, big data. That is what we saw. So in the information age, as you can see, the outer layer in these circles represent all the different, many different types of data that are created and captured in our day-to-day activities, from social media to various other activities, videos, sensors, Internet of Things, and all kinds of processors and so on. But so the role of AI and technology platform, and I have just dropped in a few of the key artificial intelligence aspects or technologies or algorithms, programs, whatever the way that you look at them, which helps to transform this the raw data into a form that can be then consumed or used by various different researchers. So the inner circle cross-disciplinary research teams working on real-life problems, and the outer circle is the digital information or the digital footprints that are generated and captured from the various real-life activities. So the AI plays that role. But this is a very broad and a more abstract sense. But I can point out a few things that the many of you as academics and researchers would be quite familiar with. So one of the key things in cross-disciplinary research is the ability to synthesize multiple different types of information. So knowledge synthesis and collaboration is really essential in cross-disciplinary research. And the AI plays a key aspects there. There's data fusion, what we call a multimodal data integration techniques, and so on. And also, one of the main things that we have used, and I'm sure many of you are already quite familiar with, is that conducting literature surveys. Basically, we carry out, as researchers, we carry out literature surveys to understand the state of the art in our discipline. And that itself, especially with the amount of research that is being carried out, it's a massive task. But just imagine having to work with, I'm sure some of you are familiar with that, and I do that quite regularly. We work on with multidisciplinary and cross-disciplinary research. It's impossible to find time to even look for and definitely read through and understand the related other discipline or research in the related disciplines. Artificial intelligence and natural language processing plays a key role here. For example, instead of 50, 100, or even 200 research papers, the AI and NLP can go through thousands of research papers and bring it all together. There's bridging the communication gap is another key important factor. So I will very briefly say what I mean by communication gap. Communication gap doesn't mean that using all kinds of technologies, mobile apps, and so on. That is one core part of it. But there is another deeper meaning to that. And one last point before I go to that is that AI, and especially with generative, what's called the generative AI that's coming out, the AI can potentially identify potentially interesting areas that will not be thought of as possible by human beings. So to the communication part of it, this is a point that I thought is very important to make. So on the left-hand side, we have the digital data, we call the digital footprints, and then using the AI models, this digital data is transformed into various modules, or what I have called domain agnostic research building blocks. So what am I trying to say here? So you have this cross-disciplinary research team working together on a real-life problem, and you have the source data in raw form. But that raw data as it is may not be meaningful. Perhaps to a computer scientist, it would be meaningful, or a data scientist, or a database researcher. For a psychologist, would be looking at emotions and used to actually interacting directly with a human being, face-to-face, physically, and identifying that emotion. So what AI models can do is based on elements or traces of emotions, with facial expressions, with audio, with social media interactions or posts, they can derive the emotions that are embedded in those traces of digital information and produce this emotion model, so that which can be then consumed or worked on by psychologists. So that's what I mean by these domain agnostic building blocks, which are then understood, understandable, and usable by various different researchers who will not have that opportunity working directly with the raw data. And I wouldn't go into the last column, but these are actually real outcomes that my team and myself working with multiple researchers from across domains have come out with, from traffic predictions to customer profiling, emotion changes over time, etc. Now, considering this, I'd like to present how in the last couple of years, the La Trobe University research organizational structure has acknowledged and restructured to accommodate these. The gray-colored shapes on top, those are called the research themes of La Trobe. And you can see that these are not discipline specific. These are multi and cross-disciplinary areas that cover real-life problems that are facing national problems in Australia. And at the bottom, you can see the research centers. RC stands for research centers. Research centers are discipline specific. So there can be research centers on agriculture, or different types of health, autism to speech therapy, and so on and so forth. And you can see that the red bar across the horizontal bar, which this is where the AI and digital technologies lie, which enable and facilitate the discipline-specific research centers to work together and connect together so that they can then work on the research themes of the university. I'll go into a couple of examples. Again, lots of text. That the idea is not to give you very specifics or trying to get you understand what the project is about, but the fact that this is a National Health and Medical Research Council funded, government-funded grant that is currently going on. And I with my team, play the role of technologist, AI and data analytics expertise providers with a large group of healthcare researchers in Australia as well as around the world. Now, so you can see that the words that I've highlighted, this is technology enabled, rehabilitation, support and self-management program for people. So this technology is already built and currently trialed. But the important thing that I wanted to point out in this project is that the various, the different diverse researchers who work on this project, and the key element that enables them to work together is the cross-disciplinary technology platform, which I'm proud to say that my team built. So we are the AI data and computer scientists, software engineers, and mobile app developers. Some of these have been actually outsourced to groups in Sri Lanka as well. And on the right side, there are accountants, risk analysts, social scientists, and demographers working on this as well. And again, just another example, one of the PhD students from Sri Lanka working on another such project where this is another key point that I wanted to make. So his expertise is a computer scientist from Sri Lanka with some industry experience as well. So he's using AI-powered computer vision technology. And what he's doing is that certain therapies and certain treatments for post-stroke patients on their recovery journey, which had to be given where the patient had to come to a clinic and face-to-face sit with a clinician or a therapist. With the innovations that came out of his research, the patient can most of the time, say 70 or 80% of the time, work on a computer virtually and then conduct the therapies. But the most important factor is that with the technology that we have come up with and the artificial intelligence, the therapists can now define and create new type of activities for the patients. So you can see that with the different type of research, the health researchers, psychologists, and neuroscientists working together, we have opened the doors for them to come out with different type of treatments and therapies for, in this case, the stroke patients, but obviously can be others as well. Very quickly, I will just get, I thought it was important for me not just to talk about AI and cross-disciplinary research, but provide a few real examples and from the La Trobe and my research center itself to show you that it's not just something theoretical or conceptual I'm talking about. This is something that we actually do, and I'm sure many of you are involved in this as well. So the La Trobe is involved in this large project. It's a future smart city project, a 10-year plan. And our research center, my research center is involved in this net zero, cutting down, achieving net zero by 2029. And we built this La Trobe energy analytics platform, we call it LEAP, which is currently in operation. All the details are there, but the most important thing I wanted to highlight, so the engineers, computer scientists, social scientists, because there are various factors, social issues that are being highlighted here, sustainability researchers, accountants, and a number of supply chain researchers and so on, work together in using this platform as their for connectivity. That's a very important factor. And moving on. So where are we heading towards? There are the AI trends. That's really important. I'm sure you are familiar with ChatGPT, and most of you have started using ChatGPT. So natural language processing is something that's been really used. Natural language processing, text analytics, which covers the social media analytics as well. Generative AI is artificial intelligence that can basically come up with possibilities, potentialities, and so on. Artificial intelligence to artificial general intelligence is another key area. This is again really tied to the information age that I was talking about, because AI that had to be built on for specified tasks on selected data sets was the past, but artificial general intelligence is much more autonomous AI that can work mostly on its own, feed on data, digital data that is available, that doesn't require human hand-holding, is where we are heading. But with all this, there's it's very important that we look at responsible AI, ethical use of AI. Those are key issues. But of course, these are topics for another day. The time, I think my time is almost up. But I'd like to finish on a philosophical note. Many of you would have heard of the Plato's allegory of the cave. A little story, what you see in that picture is a group of prisoners who are tied to, near this wall. So they see in front of them another, it's not a screen, of course, it's a cave. So there is a wall that they can see. So, and there's a fire behind them, and there are all kinds of, some people who are carrying certain objects behind. So the shadow of the people carrying are not on the wall in front of them, but the shadows of the objects fall on that because of the fire. Now, what the prisoners see, because they have actually grown up and lived all their lives in the cave, are those shadows. For them, so whether it's a chair or a pot or whatever, they don't see that. For them, it is that gray or black, if you call it two-dimensional shadow. For them, reality is this. Now, why am I talking about this? Why did I pull out Plato's allegory of cave? Artificial intelligence, although it's very important to understand what AI sees or understands, it is based on certain aspects of a real situation, because we feed, or it is only exposed to certain aspects which are represented by particular data. If it could be social media, it could be video, even it could be multiple things, but still it is only seeing certain aspects. So it's important to understand this factor, because we might think that, oh, it's supposed to be artificial intelligence, and this really applies to large language models or ChatGPT. What it's telling us is based on what it has seen, or it has, we call it, it has been learned or trained on. So it is the shadows that it's working on. AI, so it's shadows of human experiences and AI experiences. But the really important factor is that Plato obviously was not talking about AI. Right? He was referring to human beings. So although I am presenting this to you in terms of artificial intelligence and to get an understanding, when you interpret, when you make interpretations or take decisions based on what AI tell you, to have this in mind. It is what is the shadow, it is only seeing a shadow of reality, but the really deeper thought is that that's, according to Plato, what we see, our perceptions of reality is our shadows as well. Thank you very much. I hope that was give you some idea of the current stage of AI, cross-disciplinary research, and some very interesting facts about AI. Thank you.
We would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Professor Damin Dalahakon for his enlightening speech on a very timely topic. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, based on the 2023 release by the Stanford University World's Top 2% Scientists 2022 in the updated science-wide author database of standardized citation indicators, 50 Sri Lankan scientists have been listed in the world's top 2%. It is with a great sense of pride and joy that today at the annual research symposium, we celebrate and felicitate the 8 researchers among them who are affiliated with the University of Colombo. Their work has contributed immensely towards raising the research profile of our very own University of Colombo.
As we embark on this extraordinary journey to acknowledge and applaud the brilliance that lies in the heart of this institution, it is my pleasure to invite the Vice-Chancellor of University of Colombo, Senior Professor Chair H.D. Karunaratne, to join us on stage to present the awards of excellence to these top scientists, who will be accompanied by the Chair of the Annual Research Symposium 2023, Professor Tharusha Gunaratne. I would like to invite each of the awardees to come up on stage and accept their awards.
Starting off with Emeritus Professor Kamini Mendis from the Faculty of Medicine.
Emeritus Professor W.D. Ratnasurya from the Faculty of Science.
Emeritus Professor Saroj Jaisinghe from the Faculty of Medicine.
Professor Senaka Rajapaksha from the Faculty of Medicine.
Professor Nadira D. Karunavira from the Faculty of Medicine.
Professor Priyanka Ranasinghe from the Faculty of Medicine.
Professor Ranil Javardhana from the Faculty of Medicine.
Dr. Miran Keshava Edrivira from the Faculty of Medicine. Thank you, sir and madam. Please remain on stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor that we now to present the University of Colombo Senate Awards for Research for the year 2022 and Senate Commendations. We now have on stage the Vice Chancellor of University of Colombo, Senior Professor S.G. Karunaratne, who would do the honors as we recognize the accomplishments and dedication of our researchers this evening. And from Faculty of Arts, under the category General, Dr. Ananda Karunaratne. And next I would like to invite Professor DDPM Dunasinghe under the category General. And next, I would like to invite Miss I.W. Ratnayaka, Early Career category. And next, from the Faculty of Education, Dr. H.M.L. Kumari under General category. And next from Indigenous Medicine, Professor M.S.M. Shifa from General category. And next I would like to invite Dr. K.P.K.R. Karunagoda under General category. And next, from Faculty of Law, I would like to invite Professor N. Kamardeen under General Category. And next, I would like to invite Miss W.R. Samarnaika under Early Career Category.
Moving on with the Faculty of Management and Finance. Under the general category, Professor A.S. Adhikaram. Under the general category, Professor P. Kailasapati. Under early career category, Dr. S.D.K. Vaninayaka. Now let's take a look at the Senate Commendation awardees from the Faculty of Management and Finance. Moving on with the Faculty of Medicine. Under the general category, Professor Priyanga Ranasinghe. Under the general category, Professor Ranil Jayawardena. Under early career category, Professor Dakshita Vikramasinghe. And now let's take a look at the Senate Commendation awardees from the Faculty of Medicine.
Ladies and gentlemen, now let's take a look at the Senate Commendation awardees from the Faculty of Nursing. Under the general category, Professor S.S.P. Varnakulasurya. Up next, I would like to invite Professor G.A.S. Premakumara. Under the early career category, Dr. G. Kisokan. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's take a look at the Senate Commendation Awardees from the Faculty of Science. Under the general category, Professor D. U. J. Sonnadara. Dr. M. K. Jayananda. Ladies and gentlemen, apologies from my end. These are all Senate awardees. From the next category, which is the early career category, Dr. ADDS Amarasekara. Now let's take a look at the Senate Commendation Awardees from the Faculty of Science.
Moving on to the Senate awardees from the Faculty of Technology. Under general category, Dr. W.K.S.M. Abesekara. And Dr. Jayani J. Vevalvala. From the Faculty of Technology under Early Career category, Mr. N.N. Tilakaratna. From the Library of the University of Colombo under General category, Dr. D.C. Kuruppu. From the Library of the University of Colombo under General Category, Mrs. Sanjeevani D. Somaratna. From Sri Pali campus of University of Colombo under General Category, Dr. Pradeep Peerasinghe. From Sri Pali campus of the University of Colombo under General Category, Professor Ranjan Hettiarachchi. From Sri Pali campus of the University of Colombo under Early Career Category, Ms. Kumesh Prabhashini.
Next up, from the University of Colombo School of Computing, the Senate Award for the general category, we have Dr. D.A.S. Athukorala. Senate Awards for IBMBB. In general category, we have Professor Shiroma Handunetti. From IBMBB under general category, we have Professor OVDSJ Veerasena. In the early career category, we have Professor Samira Samarakon. Well, now let's take a look at the Senate Commendation Awardees from the IBMBB. Next up, Senate Awards for UCIARS. In general category, we have Dr. DMCC Gunatilaka. In general category, we have Dr. N.P. Vidhana Padirana. And the final Senate Award for the day from UCIARS. In the early career category, we have Mr. L.M. Rifness. Thank you, sir and madam, and congratulations to all the award winners.
Gratitude fuels teamwork, powering collaboration, trust, and unity. The success like our annual research symposium is as a result of the entire university community's dedication, celebrating collaboration and excellence. As we conclude the inaugural session of the annual research symposium for the year 2023, it is my privilege to invite Professor Darshani Bandhupriya, the chairperson of the inauguration committee, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Very good afternoon to all of you. I feel honored and privileged to get this opportunity to deliver the vote of thanks today at the Annual Research Symposium 2023. I would like to express our sincere gratitude to His Excellency Michael Appleton, New Zealand High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, for accepting our invitation as the chief guest to this important event and for sharing with us insightful and as well as very impressive information. Secondly, I would like to thank Honorable Andrew Traveller, the Deputy High Commissioner of New Zealand to Sri Lanka, who has graced with us his presence today, representing our chief guest, His Excellency Michael Appleton, High Commissioner of New Zealand. I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to three eminent keynote speakers of our symposium: Dr. P. Nandanal Veerasinghe, the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka; Dr. Alaka Singh, WHO representative to Sri Lanka; and Professor Daminda Alahakon, Director, Research Center for Data Analytics and Cognition, La Trobe University, Melbourne, Australia, for shedding light on the symposium theme from various perspectives and drawing on their vast experience and knowledge. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and cooperating with us to make this event successful. I would like to express our sincere gratitude to Dr. Shalala Amadova, Public Health Administrator, WHO, for joining this event on behalf of Dr. Alaka Singh. Despite the fact that the ARS 2023 inauguration ceremony will span only for 2 to 3 hours, preparations for this event started several months ago. This event was certainly the result of a lot of hard efforts of a lot of people. I'm extremely grateful to the Vice Chancellor, Senior Professor Chair, H.D. Karunaratne, for his continuous support during the entire process. Thank you very much, sir. Deans of all faculties, the rector of the Sripali campus, and directors of institutes and schools provided full cooperation as advisors to this event during the last few months. And they nominated the best members for their respective organizations for the organizing committee. On behalf of the organizing committee, please accept our warmest thanks to all deans, directors, and rector of Sripali campus. Our organizing team also included the registrar, bursar, and the librarian. I thank you all for the assistance offered. We are grateful to Mr. S.M. Shifa, Assistant Registrar of the Academic and Publication Division, for convening all the meetings and handling the administrative aspects of this event. The commitment of his team at Academic and Publication Division is also acknowledged. I wish to place and record my gratitude to Dr. Ajantha Korala, Director, University of Colombo School of Computing, UCSC, we all know like that, for hosting the ARS and helping with all the necessary arrangement in these premises. Thank you very much, sir. The organizing committee wishes to express its gratitude to the works engineer and his team, as well as the Senior Assistant Registrar of the General Administration Division and his team, staff of the UCSC for their assistance with all the structural and logistical aspects of this event. Professor Tharusha Gunaratne, Chairperson of the ARS 2023, was the organizing committee's key pillar. Thank you, Professor Tharusha, for your guidance and all the hard work and dedication. We highly appreciate the immense service rendered by the editorial committee led by Dr. Sevandi Rana Singha for compiling and editing the proceedings of the ARS 2023 and also several other documents. Dr. K.D. Sandaruwan, Chairperson of the IT and Publicity Subcommittee, and Dr. Sachini Amarasekara, who is in charge of FOSS Media, have been dedicated and committed throughout. I thank them both for their continued effort. A special word of gratitude is due to Dr. Hiran Jayavira, Network Operations Center, and Mr. Layan Chaturanga, System Analyst, NOC, Mr. Oshan Tennakon from UCSC, Dr. Nandasara, Colombo University Press, and team of the Advanced Digital Media Technology Center, ADMTC, of the UCSC, and FOSS Media crew for the support extended. I'm thankful to co-editor and all subcommittee members representing different faculties, institutes, campus, school, and library for their immense support in this particular event. I also wish to thank the comparing team, the students from the Faculty of Science and Faculty of Law of University of Colombo for the job well done. I wish to thank the students of the Dancing Circle of the University of Colombo for the impressive performance they did today on stage. We had involvement of many students, demonstrators, and volunteers in today's program. Thank you very much for assisting us in staging this event and demonstrating your love and dedication to your alma mater. I would like to thank our award winners, distinguished alumni, academics, and students for participating in ARS 2023, both physically and virtually. We are really honored to have you here today. Please pardon me if I did not mention your name, but we genuinely appreciate everyone who has contributed to the success of this event. Finally, thank you everyone for taking the time to be here today with ARS 2023. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you very much, Professor Bandhupriya. We must not forget that your dedication has also been a part of the guiding force behind today's event. Ladies and gentlemen, it is almost time to draw curtains on the inauguration ceremony of the Annual Research Symposium 2023, which marks yet another insightful event on the university's annual calendar.
Without limiting the ARS 2023 theme to a word, University of Colombo has once more taken a step towards research excellence and beyond, through new generation, innovative concepts, methodologies, and understandings.
Proceeding forward with world rankings, country rankings, Asian rankings, global impact rankings, world rankings by subject, clinical and health, life sciences, social sciences, physical sciences, and world ranking in emerging economies, University of Colombo is striving towards success.
University of Colombo's research profile, like a fine tapestry, is woven with threads of dedication, innovation, and collaboration. And our researchers have transcended academic boundaries to address the real-world challenges, contributing to the betterment of the society, environment, and economy.
Once more, thanking all the personalities present here today, moving in various research disciplines, as well as our distinguished personalities who grace the event with their presence. Your relentless efforts have laid the foundation for the knowledge that we all share today.
And as we conclude the proceedings of the Annual Research Symposium for the year 2023 of University of Colombo, featuring the theme Research Excellence and Beyond, let us be enlightened and inspired by the wisdom shared today. And always remember that the journey of research and discovery never truly ends.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we part ways, we kindly invite the following specific groups: the top scientists, the Senate awardees, the Senate Commendation awardees, and the advisory committee, together with the ARS organizing committee, to join us on stage for the purpose of the group photographs. We would also like to inform you that in the interest of time, a photo booth is open at the 5th floor refreshment area for all other photos. All other participants, please join us at the rooftop of the University of Colombo School of Computing for networking and to enjoy refreshments.
Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, may I kindly have the top 2% scientists with the Vice Chancellor, sir, to join us on stage. Can we have the top 2% scientists with the Vice Chancellors on stage to take the respective photograph? Can we have all the top 2% scientists on stage to take the respective photograph? Thank you very much, sirs and madam. Can we next have the Senate awardees on stage, please? Thank you, sirs and madam. Can we have the Senate awardees on stage, please? Both the general category and the early category together on stage. Thank you, Madam Censors. Can we have the Senate Commendation awardees on stage, please? Firstly, can we have the Faculty of Medicine Senate Commendation awardees on stage? Can we have the Faculty of Medicine Senate Commendation Awardees on stage, please? Ladies and gentlemen, can we have the Faculty of Medicine Senate Commendation Awardees on stage, please?
To our Senate Commendation awardees, your awards can be collected near the stage.
Attention please, your Senate Commendation certificate could be collected from the stage. Can we have the Senate Commendation Awardees of the Faculty of Science on stage, please? Can we have the Senate Commendation Award winners of the Faculty of Science on stage, please? Can we have all the other Senate Commendation Award winners on stage, please, to take the respective group photograph? Can we have all the other Senate Commendation Award winners on stage, please, for the group photograph? Can we have all the other award winners, some Senate Commendation Award winners, on stage to take the respective group photograph? If there are any other Senate Commendation Award winner who's not present on stage, can you please make your way to the stage, please?
Advisory committee on it. Last but certainly not least, I kindly request the advisory committee consisting of rector, all deans, directors, registrar, bursar, and the librarian, and the ARS organizing committee to join us on stage for the official photograph. Advisory committee consisting of rector, all deans, directors, registrar, bursar, and the librarian, and the ARS organizing committee to join us on stage. Sure. I can. This invitation goes out to the advisory committee consisting of rector, all deans, directors, registrar, bursar, and the librarian, and the ARS organizing committee to join us on stage for the official photograph.